Hello, listeners. I'm your host, Jeff Hatter. Thank you for tuning in to Yerba Travels podcast, the place that delivers all the marvelous wonders of our beautiful world from first-hand accounts of people who live in these exotic places. After listening, head over to yerbatravels.com to find out more cool information. That's yerbatravels.com. And don't forget to subscribe and join the Yerba Travels community. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation. All right, my guest today is a native of the bluegrass state of Kentucky, but now he's living a mile high out there in Denver, Colorado. I'd like you guys to welcome to the Yerba Travels podcast, Brandt Miller. Brandt, how are you?
Good. How's it going, Jeff?
It's going great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a while.
It has, and I absolutely look forward to hearing some of the stories that you have because we haven't talked for a long time, and I know our listeners would love to hear more about you and where you live. So,
Absolutely.
Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about where you're from and where you're living now?
Cool. Well, like you said just a second ago, a native of the bluegrass state. I was born in Pineville, Kentucky. Graduated from the University of Kentucky. Met you as I was a student at Northern Kentucky University. Studied music performance there, guitar performance, and then we moved to Colorado in 2015. Early 2015, I left. I was playing with a band in Kentucky, the Restless Leg String Band, and decided I was going to take what I was doing and move it out to Colorado. So I came out here with my wife, Susanna, and we met a band out here called the Steepland String Band, and I started playing with them and bounced around the Front Range, lived in Boulder for a little while, and lived down in Denver, and lived outside of Nederland up in the mountains for a little bit, and then met a lot of musicians and people that were great pickers and people that I'd played with my heroes, like Leftover Salmon and String Cheese Incident and stuff, and started meeting a lot of people that had connections. So ended up eventually meeting these guys called the Wrecklunds, and they're all kind of based they had been playing together for a little while out of Denver, but a lot of them kind of live in Lakewood, Evergreen area. So ended up playing with them, starting to play with them, and we just released our album called Moon Over Broadway,
which is a fantastic album, by the way.
Thank you.
I had to listen to it. Anybody out there listening, I'm gonna link it up for you guys. It's a must listen to. Yeah.
And what's funny too is there's some songs on there that kind of tie in. We didn't even realize it, but there's a song on there called New Dream, like that kind of just talks about living the new dream that we're all kind of having to face this year. So I think it reaches a lot of different people and crosses a lot of different genres even.
Yeah, I can totally see that. The songs, the way they connect and how they're, tell the stories that are in there, it'll definitely reach a wide audience for sure.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of relevance in there that we didn't even plan out. It just kind of serendipitously worked out that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you moved out of Kentucky and kind of followed your dream out to Colorado.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Sure did.
What kind of differences do you see between Kentucky and Colorado? What drew you out that way?
There's so many, because I talked about, even Susanna and I, when we first met, we're like, oh, eventually we want to live somewhere that's got mountains and it's sunny a lot more and all this stuff. So after getting married and stuff, and actually, we were engaged. Probably we got married in 2016. So we were engaged at the time, but we decided, the weather and the Colorado actually has the Front Range in general has a really thriving music scene, especially folk and bluegrass and that kind of thing, and electronic music and all kinds. There's all kinds of great music.
Wow.
jazz and stuff. So we decided we wanted to be where more people were doing what we wanted to do, doing it in a way as bigger. The only difference I think with Kentucky is, Kentucky is kind of an impoverished place, which culturally speaking, like coming from a place that's very in a state of lack or in a state of, you know, impoverishedness to a place where there's, some of the richest people in the country that live in Colorado.
Okay. Yeah.
And so there was a big shift in, ways of thinking and things, and having to think a little bigger and not think, I came from thinking what I was thinking was big was not big,
Yeah. So like the perspective of, the attitude of going into something saying, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And when you get to the big cities or a completely different area and you go, well, that's not the way I expected it.
Yeah. That's not what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. It was totally the way it was. It's like, I had this idea. I mean, I was just playing music and getting by when we moved out here, and we had to borrow money to move out here. We were living paycheck to paycheck, and it was hard, gigs that paid in Kentucky were pretty slim and didn't pay very well. Out here, people will pay good money for shows, and people love private shows, and I've played countless weddings and big events that are,
Okay.
that are gigs that I probably never would have got in Kentucky.
So the music community out there is just vast, and the people that are ready to listen and pay for the music are.
Yes, it's bigger. It's a broader base of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of very like-minded people, in Colorado. Most people came here from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So there's people bring a lot of their tastes and styles from other places to Denver, Front Range, and then there's this like melting pot of people jamming. Before COVID hit, there's like pretty much anywhere you go in the city, there's weekly jam sessions where people come and jam and pick together and mingle, get to know each other and form, alliances with other bands and things. And it's like this cool network, And,
yeah. Like a tight-knit community almost. And
was what I was wanting in Kentucky that didn't really, I was trying to find it and stuff, but it didn't exist as much in the form that I really wanted it to. Like you said, community. It's like, it does exist, but it's in a totally different way in Kentucky.
Yeah. It seems more localized from what I've heard.
More localized, more familial.
Yeah.
A lot of like older people are involved with it in Kentucky. It's a lot of young people out here, that are picking. And
and we were talking before the show, and you mentioned that we're talking about the community, and you mentioned that people were coming from all over the world into Denver, right? I mean, you got people from the Netherlands and so forth. They're all coming to Denver, so it seems to be growing.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge. Yeah. There's so many different cultures here, and I mean, it's majority of it's white and Latino culture, and then there's a lot more Asian culture that's definitely a big part of different parts of the city, and then you've got it's growing rapidly. It's bursting at the seams. I mean, it's just like
I love that. I love the type of multiculturalism that comes, because so much comes with it. We're talking about music, but so much more comes with it. I mean, you've got the ideas that come, you've got food, which is one of my favorite things. Right?
Same here, man.
I absolutely love food. I mean, when you were talking about jamming, when we used to go to listen to jam sessions when I was still living in Kentucky, it was nice to go to places that were kind of restaurants. So you got kind of food with it, the local food and so forth. Mm-hmm. So what's the food like out there? I mean, with all these different groups coming together, I mean, you must have some amazing food, right?
There's right down the street, we've got a Brazilian cafe.
Oh.
There's a Puerto Rican joint that we get. There's a So like great pho. Like, I mean,
Is that Vietnamese?
Vietnamese pho, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's really good Mexican food, like that's kind of like Colorado inspired, or whatever. There's all kinds of. I mean, just
So
about anything that you want, you can get.
if I were to come out there, or if any of our listeners were to come there, what's a must eat when they're there? Something that they have to try when they're in Denver.
All right, okay. So there's probably 2 or 3 places you should probably try, but
Okay.
one, my opinion, as a Kentucky boy, I would say you got to try the. It's called the Denver Biscuit Company, and in Kentucky we love biscuits and gravy, right? So
Oh
like
yeah. Oh
this
yeah.
place has some of the biggest, massivest biscuit and gravy things that you can get. One of them being the Franklin, which is a biscuit with gravy on it, with an egg, with a fried chicken patty, and then and then another biscuit piece on top and smothered in gravy, and 2 pieces of bacon on top.
That sounds amazing. Like you
So,
said, from Kentucky, I want some biscuits.
and then late night, if you go to this place, they stop serving biscuits at like 2 o'clock, but and you can get pizza, walk up slices of pizza, like New York style pieces, until like 2 or 3 in the morning. You just walk up to the window and they give you these. Oh, it's just amazing pizza too.
Okay, so pizza joint, some biscuits and gravy.
That's my go-to local favorites. If you're wanting something special, gosh, there's so many different places, but there's this place called Guard and Grace. It's downtown, and it's like basically like a high-end like steakhouse, but they have this truffle mac and cheese there that I mean, I know I'm talking about like biscuits, pizza, mac and cheese.
You're saying all the right words right now. I am hungry.
It's so good. It's so good.
Gosh.
Yeah,
And those are staples back in Kentucky.
They've got a 30-day dry aged. It's like a dry rub aged steak. It's like a
30-day.
steak.
Wow.
30
Okay.
days. Yeah. So there's a lot of good steak out here. Denver used to be a big cow town, so there's like some of the best steakhouses in the country out here.
Yeah, especially out west. Not just Colorado or Denver, but out west is some prime steaks for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Prime steaks.
I love a good ribeye. I don't know about you, but
oh yeah, ribeye, T-bone, any of them.
Yeah.
So
you get some steak out there in South Korea.
Yeah, actually, out here they have Korean cows, which they call Hanu, and they don't reproduce them. They don't kind of cattle these cows very often, so it's really expensive. But it is some of the most marble. It looks like marble. The meat. I don't know the adjective. Marvelous.
Perfect. It's perfect.
But man. When you cook it, it has that tenderness, that kind of meltiness when you eat it. I mean, Korea also has, it has the Outback Steakhouse, and they get steaks from Australia and America as well.
Okay.
But that's not really the highest quality steak. They're importing the kind of low quality meats.
Right.
The Hanu, the Korean Hanu, if you ever get a chance to taste it, I would highly suggest. I would compare it to like Japanese Wagyu.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to
Wagyu
that.
beef. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff too.
Yeah.
My parents do barbecue competitions, and like they'll do brisket and and like chicken thighs, competition chicken thighs, and like I mean they've got a whole room of trophies from winning these competitions.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if you've ever been to a barbecue competition in Kentucky. But
not a competition. I've tried some, but not a competition.
Oh man, it's a spectacle.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a total spectacle.
In some barbecues, those competitions, they can last all day or sometimes all night, right? Because they take hours.
All weekend.
Whole weekend. Wow.
Sometimes a whole weekend. And they'll judge. They'll do best presentation, best taste, best blah 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 blah. I mean, there's so many different
categories
and whatnot, but
yeah.
I know they've won a lot in their with their competition, chicken thighs.
Well, shout outs to Brandt's parents. Well done, people.
Yeah, Triple J and C. Shout out to Triple J and C.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the Denver, the food out in Denver, is it pretty easy to get around Denver so people can get to these restaurants and try the food? How's the transportation out there?
Oh man, it's good. They're doing a lot of construction on the roads right now, but we use a lot Lyft and Uber, obviously. Good ways to get around if you're traveling, but
Yeah.
Denver's got a pretty good setup. It's pretty for a city this size. I mean, I've lived in cities 10 times smaller that have way worse traffic, and like I'm still surprised sometimes I can leave my house over in North Denver and get downtown and literally like 5-10 minutes and I'm downtown. I can park. I just don't know a lot of cities like that still, that like
Right.
I can just jet right in town. No work. Like there's just like some days there's bad traffic, but it just depends. It's not every day. It's not all the time. And like even like Lexington and Kentucky, man, like you get stuck in gridlock traffic.
Horrible traffic. Yeah.
And you're like, this city's not even that big.
Right.
There's not even that many people here. I don't know why we're sitting in traffic, but here, it has its moments, obviously.
Yeah.
What's the?
You mentioned that Uber and stuff, and that's one thing that I always say is if you don't have a car or if you're just traveling to a new place, Uber and Lyft, the technology that we have now, I say it treats us like royalty because you get picked up and dropped off whenever you want.
What did we do 10 years ago or 15 years ago? You remember? Like, what did we even do? We had to call somebody and hope that, they would be available.
And not overcharge us. And
Yeah, hope that they, maybe hadn't had a beer or two or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm more of a Lyft kind of guy, but I definitely use them both. And, they've served me very well.
So people
to the point where I was like, man, maybe I should just drive for these guys too.
There you go, a little side income, a little side hustle.
Right. Seriously.
So if people want to come to Denver, obviously Uber, Lyft, the car pickup services are good. How about public transportation, or do you recommend renting a car? Because there's got to be some beautiful places to see.
I would always recommend renting a car. Absolutely, because when I go somewhere, I like to have the freedom of being able to go and do as I please. And when you're here, you're gonna want to be able to get out to the mountains, and it's not like other places. We can go from. I mean, Denver's already 5,250 feet high or whatever, but once you go to the mountains, you can go up to 10,000, 12,000 feet easily in no time.
Whoa.
So a lot of people opt for cars that are mountain worthy, all-wheel drives and things. And I would always recommend, especially in Colorado, the weather can shift like that. Like it could be 95 degrees and the next day it could snow. And so
okay.
Basically everybody here drives an all-wheel drive vehicle, so just in case, because you don't want to get stuck with a rear-wheel drive car out here, because you'll just get stuck.
So rent a 4-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive. Yeah,
absolutely, always, yeah.
So
especially if you're planning to go out into the mountains, because people don't realize it. Like you go up I-70 here out of Denver. You're in the mountains in no time, and the weather changes rapidly, and the temperature can be 20 or 30 degrees lower, and you can only drive 5 or 10 miles up the hill, and it's snowing, and so that can catch people by surprise. Sometimes they come here thinking it's going to be all sunny,
and it changes.
Turns out it's snowing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's great that you mentioned that, because I think when people when they prepare to travel, they look at the weather, right? And they go, oh, okay, wear shorts and t-shirts this day. But it's nice to know that, because if it changes and you're stuck out there in the snow with a t-shirt and shorts, you're in trouble.
You're not going to have fun either. And
Exactly.
the best thing about, I mean, it's kind of fun, because our MO is like, you got to layer up here, like, just in case it's going to be hot or if it's going to be cold, you at least want to have the option of, I would say always bring, a light jacket, or like a puffy jacket that you can fold up, pack up, compress up, and it's maybe have a rain shell, in case it rains, but because it's always changing, I went to a concert last summer at Red Rocks, and it was beautiful all day. It was hot and sunny. And then the show started, and then the clouds rolled in, and then like halfway through the show, it just monsoon rained the whole entire time. And we were like, we did not even see this coming. Like, we're huddled under this little blanket, and I was like, I knew I should have brought my jacket. I knew it. I was in shorts and a cut-off shirt, I was like, but I knew, and I didn't even follow my own advice and bring a rain jacket. So I would always say, come prepared.
Come prepared. That's a great tip. Always come prepared. Yeah, because you never know what the weather's going to throw at you. I mean,
you don't.
And it's different everywhere in the world. So that's a great tip. Always be prepared. Always have something packed away.
Actually, yeah, it's always better to be prepared than underprepared.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've actually noticed that through my travels. Like when I first started traveling, I didn't take my backpack or anything out of the hotel room, but I'd always see travelers with backpacks, like small day bags that they brought. And I was like, man, why are you doing that? But then you experience some things like getting drenched at Red Rocks. You experience these things, you go, oh, that's a great idea. Like, just take a small bag with something extra just in case something happens.
The essentials, sunblock out here too, our UV. We have some of the highest UV in the whole country. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, we have very high UV index here. So you got to wear sunblock and stuff, because it doesn't take long and you're burnt.
Yeah, especially when you're up in the mountains and you're hiking all day and stuff. Yeah, you can get fried pretty quick.
Sunblock always, and sunglasses, because the sun's really intense, and you're a mile closer to the sun, and so you gotta. I have sensitive eyes too. If you have lights colored eyes, out here, you really want to wear some good sunglasses.
All right. Okay.
Hats are big, everybody's got hats, because the sun, you got to keep the sun off of you.
Yeah. So everybody, stay protected.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And in the wintertime, even, you don't realize you go skiing out here, and the sun reflects off that snow, and you can get really sunburnt even in the wintertime skiing. So you got to wear sunblock.
Yeah. And that's another great point, because a lot of people don't think about that. Oh, it's wintertime, I don't need sunscreen. You do. A reflection, whether it's a lake or snow, you're getting sun.
Yeah, and actually that's some of the most intense days, when you're skiing and you're up on the mountain and that sun's reflecting back, and it's almost like holding one of those little reflectors shields on part of your face. It'll cook you like a rotisserie chicken, man, I'm telling you.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I was up on St. Patrick's Day in Crested View maybe a year or two ago, and we were skiing, and we played a show up there, and they gave us free lift tickets and stuff for playing. Cool. So we went skiing, and it was a beautiful day, but it was all the snow was really icy, and it was kind of dangerous. And we got up there, man, all I had on was a short sleeve shirt. I got cooked like a lobster. I mean, I was so I was farmer tan lines, everywhere, and
Yeah, I think everybody's been there at least once or twice. We learn through experience.
Oh man, it's fun though. I would highly recommend, if anybody comes out, go check out some of these mountain towns that are maybe a little more off the beaten path.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Is Denver is an absolute beautiful city, and I only know that through pictures and talking to people. I haven't been there myself, but I know that it's just a beautiful city. But I know there are little places that are not far. You could take an hour drive, or a little more, a little less. Yep. What are some pretty cool spots? Can you share some of the off the road, off the beaten path places with us?
Oh man, and there's so many of them. One I would say is Netherland. It's outside of Boulder, and I lived up there for a year or two. There's a thriving arts community up there, art, music. It's tucked kind of behind Boulder, so it's kind of you drive up through the canyon. And Boulder is also, that's where the University of Colorado Boulder is, the
Mm-hmm.
Buffaloes. So it's a thriving college town. But you go a little about 10, 15 minutes outside of there, and it's a little tiny town up in the mountains. It's kind of like, you know, um, just a typical mountain town, but there's a lot of really good food. There's there's a couple good breweries there that are really amazing. There's a skiing mountain up there called Eldora, which is like, if you don't want to have to deal with all the really big crowds up in the high country, you can go to this place and it's not as bad of lines and the cost is lower. So Eldora
Awesome.
is a great place. Yeah. Another place would be probably like Manitou Springs outside of Colorado Springs.
Okay.
That's another little kind of artsy kind of small town that's tucked in the hill there, and there's all kinds of stuff to do. And there's the Manitou Incline, which is like this really steep. I think it's 1 mile, and it's almost near vertical.
Whoa.
But
And people can go up that?
you climb up this thing. Yeah, you kind of like you. I mean, it's so steep. Some people run up it. They'll challenge themselves and how fast they can run up this thing.
Wow.
And it's almost near vertical. But
That's
that's
like rock climbing, it sounds like.
yeah. I've never actually done it, but um, they had it closed a lot for COVID and stuff. But no, I think it's back open now. So, yeah, there's
Okay.
so many cool towns. We used to live in Pueblo for 5 or 6 months. That's a neat little town too in southern Colorado. It's probably 3 hours from Denver, but
I personally think 3 hours is not very far. I'll hop in a
yeah,
car and drive for, I
right,
think up to 5 hours is okay because
yeah,
being from close to Cincinnati, we used to drive to Chicago quite a bit,
oh
and that
yeah,
was about 5 hours. So,
yep.
yeah, I think, what'd you say it was about 3 hours, Pueblo?
It's 100 miles, I think, so it's about three
Okay.
hours, 2.5, 3 hours. And it's a nice little town if people are wanting to, see a city or be in a city in Colorado that's not as expensive as Denver, because the prices for homes in Denver are pretty high right now. But a lot of the appeal in southern Colorado and Pueblo is that there's still jobs and things, but you can actually afford to buy your house and things. You don't have to, the average house in Denver is about $600,000 right now, I think.
Well,
So a lot of people move to Colorado Springs and Pueblo, and they're beautiful places, but they're just they're not as metropolitan like Denver is.
mm-hmm.
So also Durango is a great town. It's out in southwestern Colorado, and that's a really nice different town that's got a lot more Southwest vibes to it. And
Yeah. What's out there in Durango? What's something popular people can, like an attraction or something that people can visit?
yeah, in Durango, that's where Fort Lewis College is. There's a college there called Fort Lewis, uh, and there's also Pagosa Springs is right outside Durango, and so there's like hot springs out that way. There's a lot of
Okay.
really nice rafting, river rafting. People are into river rafting, fly fishing, and stuff. That's some of the best places to go.
Yeah, and
Uh,
for people who don't really know about Colorado or the West in America, it's all about the outdoors. You
all
know,
about the outdoors.
rafting, fly fishing, hiking in the mountains, four wheeling, or off roading if you want to.
Yep,
And
yep,
that's what makes the West so great is
yeah.
just the versatility that you have. That you can go and do just about anything out there.
There's so much cool stuff. A lot of the big thing too, a lot of people do now is bike packing, which is like kind of a melding of backpacking and biking. And so you can pack up your bike with, some bags and a tent, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a minimalist approach, but you can go out. There's so many places you can go out and do some overnight trips or some 2 or 3 day like little excursions where you're just on your bike and you're out on these trails, and you
Yeah.
camp out under the stars with your tent, and I mean, it's amazing.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are great things for people visiting the area instead of just seeing buildings downtown.
Yeah.
If you ride bikes, hop on a bike for an overnight trip or
Right.
go
Right.
rafting for the afternoon. Yeah, those
Oh
are
yeah.
great tips. Yeah.
Yeah, and Denver's a really, like you said, a very active city. So they've got bikes all throughout the city for people. You can just check out a bike, and you can ride around the city on a bike. I mean, I would highly recommend people, if you're downtown and you don't want to walk, check out a bike or a scooter, and just, you can see
Hmm.
so much more. It really opens up a lot of the city for you, you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could basically bike anywhere in the city, anywhere you want to go. Um,
Nice.
it's
So
it's
not just traffic is easy to go, but getting on a bike and getting around
There's
same
bike
way.
lanes. Yeah, bike lanes are everywhere. There's bike maps. There's a whole grid for the city of bike trails that connect, and so you could easily just have a bike as your sole transportation and be able to get around.
There you go. That's
E-bikes are the big thing, the electronic ones with the
yeah.
motors.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people are using now for commuting and stuff.
Have they made any mountain bikes, any e-bike mountain bikes yet? Have they made
Yes,
those?
yes, and some of them are very powerful. Like
Really?
they're kind of there's a certain limit on the wattage. I think 750 watts is the most you can go
Well, yeah,
legally.
before you get into a motor vehicle. Yeah.
Before it becomes like a dirt bike,
Yeah.
But even then, at 750 watts, some of these bikes, I mean, are really, really aggressive dirt bikes. They handle like mountain bike, or like they handle like dirt bikes, but they're mountain bikes.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are pedal assist. So, just going up a hill, it'll give you that extra push to
Push.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're not having to struggle so hard to go, but you're not
Yeah.
actually like throttling up like a dirt bike.
Right. Man.
So,
It's
yeah. So
everything
that's a
that we're
big,
offered. Everything that we're offered. Like we were talking earlier, 10 years ago, we would have never thought about this. And
right.
now you
No,
can literally go out and do anything, right?
I couldn't even imagine a battery that would be able to store that much power
Well,
10
yeah.
years ago. Like
Yeah, just
that's
the battery itself.
impossible.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
seemed impossible, but they've got it now where these batteries are so efficient and so powerful
Mm-hmm.
that that's the way of the future, I think.
Yeah. Is Denver kind of like a green city? Are they pushing kind of electric cars and things?
Yeah, I think there's like dueling agendas here. You've got a lot of
Mm.
oil and gas and fracking along the
Okay.
Front Range, and so there's a lot of that money lobbying and by those powers that be. But
Yeah.
then there's also a lot of very green eco-conscious people also that are fighting to always keep it in check. And so
Yeah.
I mean, at some point they were allowing fracking like within like 50 feet of schools at some point. Like they had these oil wells just going right outside of schools.
Oh my goodness.
So they finally, there was some bad things that happened, an explosion or something. They've finally gotten the legislation now to where I'm pretty sure that there's a minimum distance they have to be in. Like,
Yeah, there should be. I mean, for something like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
it should be
like
miles. Not
right,
50 feet. It should be
right.
miles
Um,
away.
I mean, we've had a lot of things happen out here. One of the worst plutonium fires in history happened in Denver
Wow.
I believe it was in the 60s or early 70s, and it um, released a lot of plutonium across the entire state, and it dropped a lot along the Front Range. And years later, they're building suburbs right over top of these plutonium radiation. So there's that going on alongside. There's a lot of green initiatives. We have a lot of wind power. Solar is huge.
Okay.
So I just had a guy today come to my door trying to get us to convert to solar. So
So they're out there. They're pushing.
it's pushing. It's big.
Yeah.
A lot of my neighbors have solar.
Okay.
It's definitely a big part of the energy equation here for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're starting to see that everywhere. I mean, even in Korea, some of the apartments around me have decided to put up solar energy.
Right.
They
Yep.
put up little panels outside their windows and stuff. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
seeing that
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the way to do it too. Like LEDs and things like those things last for so long, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's good to see
Remember?
that the city's trying to make some efforts in doing that. It sounds like
Yeah.
the people are speaking up and and the people are having a voice a little bit, which is awesome. That's what we need. People to have
Yeah.
voices.
People got to
So,
speak up and stand up for what's right.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, speaking of people and stuff, what's the kind of relationship between the people like in Colorado? People, the reason I ask that is because people, when I talk to people, a lot of foreigners think that Americans are too individualistic, like they're only about themselves. And I said, well, that's not necessarily true. We grew up in
Yeah.
communities where we help each other and we do things. It's just not as big. It's not like the whole city is one. Um,
Right.
but I try to explain to people that, Americans are actually really friendly. When you kind of get out of the big cities or,
Yeah. Yeah.
people are super friendly. What's it like out in Denver
Um,
and the surrounding areas as well?
People are friendly. I think most people, like I was saying earlier, came to Denver from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so there's a small group of they call themselves natives, and they're very proud to be Colorado native.
Mm-hmm.
And there's um, certain groups of people that call themselves natives, but yeah, most people came here from other places, so I think people tend to mostly get along and mostly are congenial with each other. But I think
Yeah.
there's definitely a little bit of, because the city's grown so fast, there's a little bit of we have a bad problem sort of with like aggressive drivers. So like
Mm,
people,
yeah.
there's a
Coming
lot
from
more
different
there's a lot more
areas.
cars on the road, and
That
so
too. Yeah.
got a main highway interstate that goes right through the city. So
Yeah.
you kind of got to be careful. People definitely. I wouldn't say Denver's like got any kind of bad crime rate or anything. I think
Okay.
Denver, most parts, very safe city.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Good.
Very friendly city. People are willing to help you out.
That's awesome.
And people, our homeless population, I'd say, is probably one of the biggest issues that we have right now in the downtown area because of the COVID situation. A lot of the shelters closed down, so
Mm,
we did see a really big uptick in homeless populations
they're out on the streets now. Yeah.
throughout the city, and it did bring with it a certain amount of like, you know, uh, just bad vibes with it. I mean, they were saying
Well, yeah, and I
racial
think
grid
I think
spread throughout, and so
yeah.
like but there's a lot of groups that go out and help these people, and like they got it fixed up, and
That's great. Well, I think
yeah,
that's one of the kind of misconceptions when COVID hit. You saw more people outside because the shelters were closing down. You couldn't be inside with so many people. Well, then they had nowhere to go. And then
right,
people were getting kind of ticked off. Oh, why are we seeing so many homeless now? And you know, not really thinking that, oh, they don't have a shelter to go to anymore. So
yep.
where are they going to go? The parks and outside now. So
Yeah, and a lot of people come here from, there's kind of a large transient population of people that kind of move, just kind of float through and float out of
yeah.
Denver to other cities, and it's kind of pass through. And it's kind of a stopping point for people.
Okay.
I think it always has been too. So there's kind of that vibe of traveling and travelers, people traveling through, and people on their way somewhere or from somewhere to, there's a lot of that here. A lot of it's kind of like, it feels like a crossroads almost.
Yeah, yeah. Denver is one of the cities that's kind of like a gate to the West. People
Yeah,
coming from the East or coming from the West going East. You
right.
stop in Denver and there are a couple other cities, but you stop there before you head on to the next place. So yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, St. Louis, I think, is actually the gateway to the West, I think. But
well, yeah, the nickname of it, yeah.
but I think Denver, honestly, is probably the official one.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's cool to, especially if you're coming from Kentucky, you go through St. Louis and then you go through Kansas City. And it's so flat that whole way. It's so flat and there's nothing. And then you finally get to Colorado, and even eastern Colorado is really flat, you know, and then all of a sudden you see these mountains come up and go, oh, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like watching something come out of the land, right? When you're driving on the horizon and you start to see these things peak up, right? And you're going, oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's especially like sunrise or something like that when the sun's coming up. Oh, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know.
Yeah, Denver, beautiful. I can imagine. And I've been out west to places in Arizona and Nevada, and it's out west in those areas before you hit California. Trying to describe it in words can be difficult sometimes. The beauty of the sunrise, the sunsets, the colors that you see can sometimes be really hard to explain to people. But in my opinion, it's those cities have been some of the most beautiful I've ever been to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Have you been to like Sedona or like?
Oh yeah, I've been to Sedona, Red Rocks, Phoenix, and Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Arizona is one of my favorite places. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. And for me, it's really hard because the reds and the orange are kind of hard to explain because of the color tint and hues to them.
Well, there's like the purple, you know, sometimes the sky's purple, you know, or blue, and really this intense color.
Intense colors, yeah, exactly. Really intense colors.
And and the, you know, the Native Americans, you know, they were all very focused on, color was very important, you know. If
and
you
it
go
makes
out
sense
there
why.
where there's, if you go out, we were just down there not long ago. We went to Sedona, and I mean, as you drive through like the Indian reservation, as you go around and see all that land, I mean, the colors are just, it's like a painting, you know, it's like more vivid than a painting, but it's like the same kind of coloring.
Exactly. And the layering, the stacking of the colors and the mixing, the blending. We
stopped our car, we just were like, wow, you know, it had just rained, there was a double rainbow, and it was just, you know, we were like, wow, this is something else.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful out there. So.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing about the West, that, you know, the East, back home, like I do miss like all the trees and like the moisture, and there's a lot more water.
The moisture, that's what you miss.
I miss water and moisture.
Yeah.
Out here, man, it's dry as a bone usually.
Yeah.
And so we have a definite lack of rain out here.
Yeah.
Which is totally different than Kentucky. You know, I was cursing the rain most of the time there. It's like, just stop raining.
Yeah,
just stop raining, please.
Yeah.
Out here, man, we've got 300 something days of sunshine.
That sounds so good until, like you said, until you realize how dry it is.
Yeah.
It's so, I want that sunshine. And then you go, but the dryness, the dry heat, you know, just the dry climate.
Yeah, the fires this year have been so bad. Like today, I mean, every day we've had some of the worst air quality in like the world.
I can imagine. Oh yeah.
The fires are so bad out west that they're just covering everything with a blanket of smoke.
Yeah, so, I saw a video, someone posted it on, it was either YouTube or Facebook. It was like, it was San Francisco when the fires were burning, and it looked like a doomsday. So bad. Scary.
We have an Airbnb, so like our living situation here, we run an Airbnb, and we have guests coming from all over, but we had several people come and stay that were refugees from the fires that just had to get out because it was so bad and had to evacuate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been one of the worst years that I've seen, that the fires are just out of control, man.
Yeah.
Mainly like Oregon and California. But out here, we've had some of the worst. We've had a couple record-setting fires.
In Colorado?
Yeah, this year. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely been a year.
One was like 130,000 acres, I think. Yeah,
Goodness.
and there's one burning up in northern Colorado by our friend's ranch, and I think it's about 50% contained almost, but it's about 125,000.
Well,
Uh,
shout out to those first responders, the firefighters, the policemen.
and
Shout out to everybody that's trying to, get that under control for the residents and stuff. They're putting their life on the line all the time. So shout out to them.
Lucas Hunkler, he's one of my friends. He's a fire. He goes out and does wildfires. So
Yeah, well,
many thanks
hopefully
to
he
him
stays
and his
safe.
crew.
Yep. Yeah, I got an old high school buddy out in California. Same thing
Yep.
on the front line. So
Yeah. Well, and you think about California, it's such a big state, man. It's
yeah.
so hard to fathom how big it is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, yeah. So
All right. Well,
it's got to be a lot.
I want to ask you. You're into music. You were talking about music a little bit earlier. You're the expert, and in my opinion, you rival some of the best banjo players I've heard. I'm going to put you up there in that category. Definitely top 5. So I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious about, what's your perception about music and its influence on culture?
Oh man, it's directly linked, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because music tends to be an offshoot or an extension of. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, you're good.
As an extension of our daily lives or whatever. So, an example of like bluegrass music or that kind of thing. It's usually just stories of daily life, In country music, it's my woman left me, or
My
I'm
dog.
broke, and
Yeah.
I'm sad, I need whiskey or whatever. But those tend to be just stories, people just singing about their troubles. I think that kind of crosses all genres. Rap
Mm-hmm.
music, rock and roll music. Everybody's kind of venting their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
getting it off their chest, and so I think they're interlinked. And I think guys like Tyler Childers and people like that are doing big things, that are from Kentucky, that are on the big stage, so to speak, whatever. He's doing a big thing, releasing this new album he did. That's it's kind of like, I think it's called A History of Violence or something, but it's talking about our roots and our troubled past. And I think I think they're definitely intertwined, and they're linked.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
But yeah, and I think that's a really good point, especially with bluegrass, country music that's not so mainstream. Mainstream's a little bit different, but kind of grassroots country music, bluegrass music, folk
Yeah.
music, especially, it really
Right.
kind of tells stories about certain people's lives.
Right.
And if more people listen to that, they might have some kind of connection, because all around the world we have troubles, as you were saying. We kind of vent about them.
Yeah.
And I really think people, could find a lot of value in listening to more folk, American folk, and bluegrass especially. And find some kind of connection, because, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and like you were saying, that there's so much inspiration all around us always. It's whether or not you choose to look and to acknowledge that, or
Mm-hmm.
to acknowledge that it stirs some sort of emotion inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are too caught up in the day-to-day whatever drama and day-to-day things, that they don't really they don't see the inspiration and the beauty right in front of them in the
Mm-hmm.
present moment, and the power of the present moment. And I think the music brings you to that moment, that present moment where you have to acknowledge,
Yeah. You gotta face what's
so
right
you
in
got to
front of you
face those
sometimes.
things. Yeah. And sometimes you just got to, feel it. And it might bring something up in you that,
Yeah, and it can not just bring something up inside, but kind of make those connections. When I hear certain songs, I may not relate directly to that song, but I'll go, you know what? I was kind of in that situation, or I've had something similar to me. And like you said, that brings me kind of face to face. It's just like a reality check sometimes. Like, yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it can connect you with the person that wrote it, in a way that it's almost indescribable, but it's like, the person, but
Yeah, yeah, you
you
get to,
don't, you feel like these people, but they don't know you, obviously.
exactly.
But that's the power of it, that it's like they can put you in their shoes and
Hmm.
transport you, make you feel what they were feeling. And if the closer you can get to that as a musician, is my job, is to make you, the closer to get you to feel like something powerful, the closer we did our job, the better we did our job.
Hmm. And
But
as a musician, you obviously feel like that's some kind of aspect, like I have to make a connection with the people. It's not just me sharing stories. It's me
yeah,
sharing,
that's
but connecting with people.
making you feel something
Yeah.
that I felt too. If I can feel something inside my own music, and I'm inspired by my own music, which happens now, um, then the goal for me is to make you feel what I felt. Because
Okay.
if I know how powerful that feeling is, it makes me. If I'm getting chills listening to my own music, then I want you to get chills listening to my music.
Gotcha.
My
Yeah.
goal is to make you feel that. Sometimes it works. Sometimes we accomplish it. Sometimes it falls short. But the goal is to always, like, get as close as you can to making people feel deep emotions that are transformative. And
Hmm.
um, just like for us, the people that inspired us that we listen to still, Grateful Dead or whatever, they made us feel this uh, power. The words give you power. It's like,
Hmm.
there's a reason people do it for their whole life, seeking this like thing. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
it's a blessing, really.
yeah, exactly. And it's, once you hit that feeling, it's good to know because, you know, the listeners know you're not just writing a song, but you're actually trying to connect with them in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
which is cool.
yeah, yeah, man. That's the goal. I think
Hmm.
people people pick up on it when you're genuine. When you're not doing it just for fluff or whatever. You're doing it for to vent a real emotion out. That you know. I mean, the song that's on the record that we just did, the one that I wrote that was on there is called "Strike It Rich," but mainly it was just a song that was uh, basically just supposed to be like a vision of when you want to go from east to west, or the vision people had when they were pioneers. They were going west, and they were gonna strike it rich, and they were
Hmm.
gonna hit it big, and the gold miners went, west. These guys, the history of it, these kids were young,
Yeah.
they were teenagers, they were young men that went out, and their goal was to hit it big, and they were gonna, get all this money. A lot of them didn't. A lot of them ended up going back home or dying, or you know
And that's
some of
something
them that did.
we can relate to today because,
Right.
we're all still moving. We're all chasing that gold rush, right? Whether it's in
Yeah.
technology or a new
Yeah.
job or,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. And it's still, that energy is still out here. I feel like,
Yeah. Okay.
you still have that. People are seeking their little piece of the pie.
Hmm.
It's still possible. And yeah, it is. It is still. So
Yeah. So I want to ask you about like the kind of the future of music too. A lot of dance music, EDM, and a lot of tech music is starting to rise. Do you see that kind of making an influence towards bluegrass or country music? Do you see that happening?
oh
And
yeah,
is it
there's
good? Do you think that's a good thing?
I think, yeah, anything that's an organic outgrowth of music expansion is fine with me. But I think people that are a little too traditional, a little too focused on keeping it exactly the same are kind of missing a lot of the action, because a lot of the action tends to come from like melding of styles and like experimental things that are going on that people start to like. I love traditional bluegrass, and we do play a lot of traditional bluegrass, but I still think, trying to stick to the form, so to speak, or really strictly, can kind of like hold you back artistically, or kind of hold you back from expressing things you need to express a certain way or whatever. So I'm all for like experimentation stuff, but kind of sticking to a guideline and kind of keeping it balanced. But there's guys that are doing things out here. One of them is this guy. He's a banjo player from the infamous String Dusters. His name's Chris Pandolfi, and he's I think it's called Trad Plus, and he's mixing traditional banjo music with electronic music, and so it's like super cool, like soundscape stuff mixed with banjo, and like this this really cool.
I'm trying to picture the sound. That actually sounds pretty cool. The way the banjos play.
Neat. Yeah, it's pretty neat stuff. And then there's one. I don't know if I can't remember. I think it's called a Japanese koto, and it's a stringed instrument. But I remember meeting a friend of mine. His mom, or his grandmother, I'm sorry, was an ambassador from Japan, and when she came to America, they basically made her the ambassador for the koto, the instrument, and it's almost like a banjo.
Okay.
With like these finger picks, and it's a little round instrument with strings on it. It looks like a banjo. It almost sounds like a banjo. But when I met my friend Corey, his mom showed it to me and showed me the pictures with like the president and all this stuff, and I was like, "Wow, you're kidding me! Like that looks like a banjo!" Like, and they were like, "Yeah, totally." I was like, "Wow, that's so cool!" Like I wouldn't think that here in Colorado, would be the ambassador from Japan's koto.
Never know who you're going to meet.
It's amazing. Yeah, I was like,
but I bet you'd love to get your hands on that, wouldn't you?
I would. It's a really cool instrument. And like the finger picks are like these long like pieces of reed almost. So, I mean, it's just it's a cool sound. You should look it up if you've never heard one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
yeah. Well, music keeps us all together, and as we said, it builds these kind of connections. And the more, I really like what you said about how you got to keep moving forward and progressing with music. We all love traditional music, and that will never go away as long as there's recordings, and we can always fall back.
Right.
But to keep moving forward and kind of keep pushing that boundary to create new things, is really, really awesome. And I hope more people can do that. What you were talking about, the gentleman who made the banjo and tech music mix. What was his name?
Yeah. Chris Pandolfi.
Yeah, Chris Pandolfi. Keep it up, dude.
Yeah, man, that guy kills it. Miss String Dusters. They're a Colorado band.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Actually, when we moved to Denver, we lived right next door to their dobro player, and it was funny because he lived right across the street from us, and I would go out to load up for a show, and he would come out to load up for a show. And it was like he'd come out at the same time, carrying the same freaking case, and like their cars would be parked right across from each other. We'd be loading in, and we'd just like look at each other like, wow, this is funny. Like, where's your gig tonight?
Yeah, where's your gig,
man? Have a good gig.
Yeah.
You too, man. You too. Yeah. Except they're Grammy winners, So I've yet to win a Grammy, but I would love to be in that same category.
You know what? I'm gonna put this out there on the record. I got to listen to the Wrecklunds' new album. If you get a chance, I'm gonna post a link to their website so everybody gets a chance to listen to it. I think you guys are on a way. I hope you can tell the rest of the members keep up that fantastic work. The
I
the
will.
the music on there, as we were just saying before, is a traditional sound mixed with the new sound. There's so many cool things mixed in,
Yeah.
the way it's
Oh
laid
yeah.
out.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yep.
you know what? I'm going to give you this
Yep.
time. We've had a fantastic conversation so far. I'm going to wrap up with letting
Oh,
you kind of promote. If the show is yours, Brandt, go ahead, promote away.
cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeff. I was going to say go on over to the recklunds.com. There you will find the music tab, and you can download our record for free, actually, right now. We're running a special until maybe halfway through the month where you can actually download the record for free as if you choose to, or as if you'd like to donate to the record, to the band. You can donate as much money as you'd like for the record, but yeah, you can go there. You can stream it. I think you can download it. We'll have merch up there here soon, so it could be hats and shirts. We've got some posters, um, and then yeah, we're gonna have vinyl records too. Those are coming out. The artwork looks really great. I would say if you're a vinyl enthusiast, definitely get a vinyl. They're kind of a limited edition, so there's not going to be a whole lot of them. So if you're thinking about it, definitely get on that. Yeah, we're going to be playing a Halloween show with our friends, 3 days in the saddle at the end of the month in Evergreen. Just like a socially distanced show. We're going to have, I think, maybe 100 people tops, and all plenty of room, and we're going to have a big Halloween party right
And
before the
where's the
election.
show? Where's the show at?
It's gonna be in Evergreen up at the Elks Lodge, and we're gonna play music. You know, it's been interesting. We haven't had a lot of shows, but that'll be one of our first big shows that maybe it'll end up being sort of an album release party for us.
I wish I
So
could be there.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll try to stream it live or something. That'd be neat.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so everybody could kind of get on, click a link, and you could actually be there with us.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you guys go check out that album, the Wrecklunds. Fantastic band. They're up and coming. One day they're going to get the Grammy. And
Oh man.
I see it. I see you guys have a bright future ahead of you. So
I think so, man. I appreciate it.
yeah.
It's good talking to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Brandt, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. This was a wonderful time.
Yeah, man. It's been a long time. It was good talking to you. I'm glad everything's going well, and I'm excited for all the future Yerba Travel episodes.
Yeah. Can't wait to get more up. But
Yeah,
with that
man.
being said, I want to thank everybody for listening. And this is Yerba Travels signing off. Take care.